Hi everyone, this is Agnes and welcome back to our next episode called People Who are Inspiring Me. And today's guest, it's a fabulous entrepreneur. It's a girl who made her brewing dream a reality. So please welcome Grainne Walsh of the Metalman Brewing. How are you, Grainne?
I'm good, Agnes. Thank you for inviting me on your
Thank you
show.
so much for coming and taking time out of your very busy schedule.
Oh, any excuse to get out of the brewery for an hour.
So, Grainne, I invited you today so you can share with us, if that's okay, how did you get where you are now? And so, tell us about something about a little bit more about yourself. What's your background?
Sure. So my background before I started brewing was actually in IT. I had spent quite a number of years, we won't say exactly how many, after college working in the IT industry, but I didn't really settle in it. It was never really my passion. It was just something that I almost fell into because I came out of college with a mathematics degree.
Oh, wow.
And it just seemed like a natural progression. But I jumped around a bit, and it sort of occurred to me, I suppose, in the noughties that I really needed to do something besides IT because it wasn't holding my attention and it wasn't something I was passionate about. Something I was passionate about, however, was beer. Myself and my other half had long been visiting breweries and always seeking out local beers when we travelled. And truth be told, we came back to Ireland in 2005 after having been away for a few years, and we were really amazed that there hadn't really been that much progression on the Irish beer scene. There was really still the same sort of 3 or 4 drinks almost on the bar. You either drank a black beer or a yellow beer or maybe a red beer if you were stuck. But that was kind of it, and it was the same 3 to 4 brands everywhere. So we started brewing a little bit of beer at home, just to be able to drink something different, and we were absolutely dreadful at it initially.
That's how you started.
That's how we started. Yeah.
That's how you started brewing at home.
Yeah.
How did you go on about that?
At that time, we just did. I suppose we did what we could. We bought brewing kits that was pretty much all that you could really get easily at the time, and we mixed up kits in plastic buckets and then watched it and minded it and bottled it and sometimes drank the results and sometimes went, not sure about this one.
So it was all about trial and error.
Very much so. But then we fell in with a group who used to meet in one of the pubs that we lived close to in Dublin, and once a month they would meet up and sample each other's homebrew. And it was a really, really great way for us to explore the whole homebrewing scene, because you get a bit of third-party validation on some of the stuff you have brewed, and you get some really good advice on some of the stuff that hasn't turned out quite as well as you had hoped or expected, as to what exactly the problems were. And it was great. It was a really fun community as well. I mean, we all sat around and got to taste loads of different beers on a night, before we then just kicked back and had a couple of beers in the pub itself, and it was a really good talking point. And I think that is the stage really when our brewing at home really started to take off, and probably when I started thinking a little bit more seriously about if this could be a career.
So tell us, what skills did you have to learn to go further, to move the mini brewery from your home, from your kitchen, to something bigger that you're doing now? What skills did you have to learn?
Pretty much all of them.
And how did you do that? Where did you get the skills and the knowledge?
When I wasn't able to do something, I had to ask someone how to do it. That's a lot of, I think, setting up a new business, especially when you take it from a manufacturing point of view. You figure out the manufacturing piece yourself at home, we'll say, and brewing at home is scientifically and technically exactly the same as brewing at scale, but you have different priorities, I suppose, when you're brewing on a commercial level, and you also have different better equipment control and environmental control. But the actual process is almost identical. But I suppose like a lot of people then who take a product that they've been making themselves and want to bring it commercial, you sort of don't really get it straight away that the manufacturing end of it is only going to be a tiny piece of what you're doing.
And tell, if there's someone here watching at home and dreaming of producing something, where do they start? Where do they get the obviously the skills and the knowledge you pretty much have to learn by yourself, but where do they get the support they need to bring it from their kitchen or from their home to our bigger production like yourself?
Yeah.
So if someone, let's say I want to produce something, I don't know what that would be, and I'm here at home experimenting, how do I go on about it? definitely.
I think once you've sort of figured out what type of product it is that you want to make and what sort of scale you want your business to get to, a really good starting place is your local enterprise board,
Okay.
because they will be able to share with you the sort of avenues that you can explore to look at funding. Because depending on the size of business you
Okay.
want to have, you will need to explore different funding options, because it will always take, in my experience, it takes twice as long and 3 times as much money to do anything as you think it's going to do when you're starting out.
Yeah.
So money is really important, but also look at the industry that you're going into. There is loads of skill there already. Chances are you haven't just invented something that's never been seen before.
Okay.
So there's somebody probably doing it already, and a lot of people are really happy to share their experiences from starting out. If you ask them, it isn't always the right person to go to. If you're setting up in exactly the same spot as them to compete with them directly in your market, then they might not be that happy about sharing all their secrets. But look 50 miles down the road, or look in the UK and just see if you can find somebody whose story sounds a bit like yours, where you are now, and talk to them about how they get going, because getting started is the hardest bit.
Yeah.
So
Once we could get started, we
Yeah.
would be unstoppable.
that was definitely the trickiest bit, is once you're started, then it's just a series of decision making to achieve the things that you're trying
So
to
what
achieve.
motivates you to just start? Because there's a lot of people, including myself, sitting there at home, oh, I could do this, I could do that. Okay, where do I start? Just start. But what motivates you? What motivated you to just get started? Say, okay, this is it. I'm going to leave my job. I'm going to do this now. And I'm
Sure.
going to do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Well, before I left my job, I wrote a business plan to look at the financials, because once you start putting things down on paper, it turns up a number of questions that you won't have considered before. And once you start talking to people about it as well, it also opens up avenues of thought that you may not have considered previously. So I know from my point of view, I was all about, wow, we're going to make beer, it's going to be great. But it didn't really, I didn't really think past, or rather think about the connecting piece between the beer being made in the brewery and the people drinking beer in the pub.
Yes.
And how those two things would need to be joined together, because they need to, you can make the best beer in the world, but if you don't tell people about it, they're not going to know about it, and they're not going to buy it. So there needs to be a connection there between on the business side of it, between the product and the consumer. And that's a really important piece to explore, because no business can be successful without a really strong channel there.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. And so you mentioned about funding, because there was a lot of people don't know actually. Okay, you go to enterprise board, is that where you go further, or should you explore something else? Because it's easy to say, oh, you're just gonna go and get some funding, find investors. But how do you go on about it? Because people don't know. Like, I wouldn't know where to go if I want to produce something.
Of course.
So if you wouldn't mind sharing with us
No, of
where
course.
to get the support.
So once you have your idea, then this is going to be the strongest thing that you have to sell what your business is going to be. What really worked for us was coming up with the name Metalman Brewing, and then having a logo to go with it, because we found ourselves almost that once we had that, it almost gave the project legs. And now all of a sudden we weren't just, Grainne and Tim thinking of setting up a brewery. It was like, Grainne and Tim, we are setting up Metalman Brewing in Waterford, and this is our logo. So that really helps, I think, give anybody's fledgling business a sort of a personality.
Okay.
And then it's really just a matter of networking and finding people to talk to who will be as excited about your business as you are. Because the enterprise board are a great place to start, but what they're going to do is put you in touch with people that they think will be of assistance to you, and then you need to go and show these people that what you're doing is really important, and what you want to do is going to be a great thing. Whether that's a customer or an investor or a business partner or a supplier, that story and your interpretation of it and your explanation of it is really, really important.
Because often investors, I think, like you said before, and I think that they're more so interested in people than the business.
Yeah.
How passionate and how excited you are about what you are doing and what you are selling and what you are producing.
Definitely.
So I can see you have a lot of passion in what you are producing.
Or a lot of gab, one or the other. No, it's like that old saying that investors invest in people, not businesses. And it is really important that if somebody is going to get excited about your business, you need to be able to make them excited about it, that's going to be the link. So
Absolutely.
you need to be infectious.
And tell me,
And I mean that in a good way.
and tell us, how do you get, what's the process of getting the beer from the brewery to the pint in Jeff's?
Sure.
How does that happen?
Well, I suppose
What does it take?
we start off on a brew day. We'll say, for example, our pale ale. We start off on a brew day that takes it's about a 10-hour day really to do our entire brew day. Over the next 3 weeks, the beer goes through different processes in the brewery itself before we finally package it into kegs. Then one of us, there are 8 of us in the brewery, one of us will put it in the back of the van, and one of us, could be the same person, will drive it down to Jeff's. And then I suppose there's a technical dispense piece then from the cold room that gets it from the keg into the glass. But that for sure was one of those big unknown pieces that I had absolutely zero understanding of when I got the idea to set up a brewery. And we probably had beer in kegs before I really gave enough thought to that side of things at all. So it was just a monumental learning curve. There are so many things, I think, with any business that if you're moving out of, let's say, a desk-based IT job into the thick of a manufacturing environment that involves, manufacturing deliveries, customer engagement, account management. There's a huge section of skills that you've never really had exposure to before, but you just have to learn really quickly.
You just have to learn. It's all
That's
about developing.
Vertical learning curve.
That's exactly it. And so, what's your biggest challenges on a daily basis?
Oh, blimey. Meeting my own objectives. So I think a lot of people who work for themselves fall into this category, but I always have more things on my to-do list than I could possibly ever do. And it doesn't really, even 5 years later, I don't get that, there is only one of me and there are only maybe 10 working hours realistically in a day that I can get stuff done, and it doesn't stop me putting things on my list that I know I'll never get to. But I think learning how to prioritize the things that you should be doing versus the things you want to be doing is probably one of my biggest challenges, because when you've got this sort of hairy project going on and you don't really know where to start, it's so much easier to go, well, I know how to do this thing, so I'm just going to go and do that today instead, and I'll think about the hairy thing some other time. So that is one of the things that I struggle with.
I think you're not the only one. Fabulous. Well, I'm not the greatest beer drinker.
You just need a bit of practice,
I
Agnes.
need a little bit of practice. Yeah. I'm a wine.
It's just getting started. It's like I said, the
hardest
part is getting started.
Yes, I am going started, and we're gonna go and try some beer now, and we let you know how we get on. And so, thank you so much, Grainne, for sharing all the vital information, because I didn't know, I wouldn't have a clue where to start. So I hope it gives you some bit of indication. If you want to do something, just get started, start making stuff at home. It's the best way to be, led by example here by Grainne.
There you go. Got to do your new product development at home and then just get out there.
Get out. I wish it was that easy for me. Thank you so much, Grainne,
Thank you for having me.
For your time. I really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot, I must say. I didn't have a clue. I've learned really a lot, and I hope you learned something new today. And so thanks for watching, and see you soon. This is Agnes.